What if I told you that one of the most iconic symbols of space exploration almost never got off the ground? It was a project born from ambition, forged in political compromise, and ultimately became a legend. On January 5th, 1972, a decision was made that would forever change humanity's relationship with space. This is the story of how the Space Shuttle Program was approved. The late 1960s were the golden age of NASA. The Apollo program was a monumental success, culminating in humans walking on the moon. But with this victory came a new, daunting question. What's next? The post-Apollo budget cuts were brutal. NASA's funding was slashed, and the grand visions of permanent moon bases and missions to Mars seemed to be evaporating. The agency needed a new flagship program, something that could sustain human spaceflight in an era of fiscal austerity. The answer, they believed, was a reusable space vehicle. The idea wasn't entirely new. Concepts of spaceplanes had been floating around for years, but now the need was urgent. NASA envisioned a space truck, a workhorse vehicle that could ferry crews and cargo to a planned space station, deploy satellites, and even retrieve them for repair. The key to making it affordable, or so the thinking went, was reusability. Instead of discarding expensive rockets after a single launch, a reusable craft could fly dozens of times, dramatically lowering the cost per flight. At least, that was the theory. Initial proposals were incredibly ambitious. NASA championed a fully reusable two-stage system. A massive piloted booster, the size of a 747, would carry a smaller orbiter on its back, fly to the edge of the atmosphere, and then fly back to land like an airplane. The orbiter would then fire its own engines to reach orbit. It was a technologically breathtaking concept, but its price tag was equally breathtaking, estimated at over $10 billion in early 1970s money. In the political climate of the time, with the Vietnam War and social programs demanding federal funds, that number was a non-starter. The White House, under President Richard Nixon, was skeptical. They saw the value in maintaining American leadership in space, but they weren't sold on NASA's expensive vision. The Office of Management and Budget, or OMB, became NASA's primary adversary. They relentlessly challenged the cost-benefit analysis, questioning the economic case for the shuttle. They argued that the projected launch rates needed to make the shuttle cost-effective were wildly optimistic. This began a period of intense negotiation, a back-and-forth battle of designs, budgets, and political maneuvering. NASA was forced to compromise. The dream of a fully reusable system was the first major casualty. To cut costs, the massive piloted booster was replaced with cheaper, solid rocket boosters that would be recovered and reused, and a large, expendable external fuel tank. This semi-reusable design was a far cry from the original elegant concept, but it brought the development cost down to a more palatable $5.5 billion. It was a technical compromise born from political and economic reality. Even with the reduced price tag, the project's fate was uncertain. The shuttle had supporters, but it also had powerful opponents. Some in the scientific community worried it would consume the entire NASA budget, leaving little for robotic probes and space science. The Air Force, however, became a crucial and somewhat unexpected ally. They saw the shuttle's potential for deploying and servicing their own reconnaissance satellites. Their support and the requirements they added to the design, like the large payload bay and cross-range capability, helped justify the program from a national security perspective. The final decision lay with President Nixon. In late 1971, NASA Administrator James Fletcher made his final pitch. He framed the shuttle not just as a piece of technology, but as a symbol of American ingenuity and a way to keep the aerospace workforce employed, particularly in key states like California and Florida. The argument resonated. Nixon, facing a re-election campaign, saw the political benefits of a bold, forward-looking project that promised jobs and cemented American prestige. So, on January 5th, 1972, at his Western White House in San Clemente, California, President Nixon officially gave the green light. He announced that the United States would proceed at once with the development of an entirely new type of space transportation system, He spoke of transforming the space frontier into familiar territory, easily accessible for human endeavor. The announcement was deliberately low-key, but its implications were enormous. The Space Shuttle Program was officially born. This decision set in motion nearly a decade of intense design, engineering, and testing. It was a journey filled with incredible challenges. Developing the heat-resistant tiles to protect the orbiter during re-entry, perfecting the complex main engines, integrating all the systems. It was a monumental undertaking that pushed the boundaries of technology. The program would go on to have spectacular triumphs and heartbreaking tragedies, forever etching names like Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour into our collective memory. For 30 years, these magnificent flying machines were our bridge to low Earth orbit. They deployed the Hubble Space Telescope, opening our eyes to the universe. They built the International Space Station, a testament to global cooperation. They carried scientists who conducted thousands of experiments in microgravity, advancing fields from medicine to material science. The shuttle was never the cheap space truck it was originally sold as. The turnaround times were longer and the costs higher than ever projected, but its legacy is undeniable. It proved that a reusable spacecraft could work, and it inspired a generation to look up and dream of the stars. The approval on that January day in 1972 wasn't just a signature on a piece of paper. It was an act of faith in the future. It was a commitment to continue pushing the boundaries of what's possible, even in the face of economic uncertainty and technical doubt. It was a pivotal moment that shaped the next 3 decades of human spaceflight and laid the groundwork for the commercial spaceflight era we see emerging today. What do you think was the space shuttle's greatest achievement? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey back in time, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from tech history. This is TimeShift Tech, where we explore what happened in technology on this day. Because every date matters, and every date marks a moment in technology history. Thanks for watching.